Hello and welcome to the In the Pen podcast, a podcast about relievers, part of the Pitcher List Podcast Network. My name is Jake Crumpler, and as always, I'm joined by Pitcher List's bullpen expert, Rick Graham. Rick, we've made it to episode 120, and once again, I've come prepared with a question for you at the beginning of the podcast. Yes, and this time it is not drink-related, but I'm sure it's going to capture the imaginations of all the listeners out there. Rick, are you allergic to anything?
Nothing crazy. No, I mean,
Okay.
I have
I like this.
Really,
I like when people are allergic to like weird things, like one weird thing.
like one specific nut or
Yeah.
flower or something. Yeah, no,
Some sort of like hand sanitizer, specific brand.
yeah. I get like bad seasonal allergies though. That's especially around here in the Boston area. A lot of pollen these days. This time of year. And I'm actually allergic to cats and dogs, despite the fact that I have 2 cats and a dog. So, I just battled through that.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, but that's nothing like no food allergies or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, yeah, because I know it could be quite rough. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you take any medication? Are you like like daily allergy pill type guy?
I've been taking like a daily Allegra for, I don't know, way too long.
Yeah.
So
Not sponsored.
Yes, not
but
sponsored.
Yes. Yeah, that was me for a long time growing up, and I used to get like seasonal sinus infections.
Yeah.
So I'd have just a super intense cold for weeks, if not months. And the only thing that got me out of that was doing Flonase or just like nasal spray every day for a while. And now I haven't had those ever since. In terms of other stuff, though, I'm definitely allergic to like banana boat sunscreen. It like burns my skin, which is really weird. Yeah.
Wow.
So I try to avoid it. I mean, obviously that's like a memory from my childhood. So who knows how real that is, but yeah, haven't tried it ever since. I've also noticed things with like green food coloring make me cough sometimes, which is weird. Like it gives me an itch in my throat. It's not enough to like turn me away from eating like a green apple flavored haichu or something. It gives me a weird taste in my throat. It's fine. It's not like closing up or anything. And then I used to tell doctors I was allergic to mosquito bites because I would get them, and instead of them staying like small, they'd turn huge.
Blow up.
Yeah. And it was very weird. But outside of that, pretty normal. I mean, I don't do great with lactose.
Same.
Yeah, but I think that's just a human thing, honestly.
Yeah.
So those are our allergies. Hopefully our listeners get to know us a little bit more now that they know what we try to avoid. But obviously we're here to talk relievers. So we've got a great show on track for you coming up. We'll discuss the news and notes from the past week. Then we'll head into our 3 up 3 down section and discuss the closers rising and falling on Rick's ranks. And then we'll close things out with our main topic as we discuss pitchers, relievers specifically, that have been either unlucky or lucky this year based on their ERA and ERA estimators. So let's start it off with the news and notes. And we got at least a couple of very significant bad news, starting with Ben Joyce, hard-throwing reliever for the Angels. He had been on the IL for a while, transferred to the 60-day IL prior to undergoing season-ending shoulder surgery. So RIP Ben Joyce, out for the remainder of the season. Hopefully he can come back at full strength next year, because I think he should have a pretty good shot at being the Angels opening day closer.
Depending on what they do this offseason. It's one thing after. I just don't know if he's going to be able to stay healthy with the stuff he has. Might just be too much to handle. But yeah, hopefully, we get him back next year. I mean, really kills all the momentum he kind of had going into this year. And at the start, he looked pretty good. But yeah, definitely a name to keep an eye on. Was it a full like rotator cuff? I didn't see. I don't know if they've even announced like what sort of surgery. I mean, if it's season ending, obviously it's significant. So
yeah, I don't see anything that specifies what part of the shoulder or what the injury was.
Well, hopefully he's ready to go early next season. So we can see him. They still have Robert Stevenson, I think, under contract for one more year too. So between those two and Zephyr John, those three should all be there next year, and that's could be an interesting spring training 2026 closer battle there.
Totally. And in 2025, I feel like with Kenley Jansen there, I feel like was already pretty locked into that closer role. But now I would say there's like zero competition. They're not going to push any of these young guys into the closer role. I mean, guys like Hector Neris and stuff are just at the same level as Jansen, if not worse. So I wouldn't expect some kind of move like that. The only thing I could see being feasible in that regard in terms of Jansen losing the role would be Stevenson returning from the IL and dominating. But Jansen, I think, signed this contract with the Angels knowing that he's going to be the closer the whole year. So I don't expect him to move out of there. However, I feel like Ryan Zephyr-John has got to move up a little bit on the holds ranks. I mean, doesn't have the future threat of legit competition.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of journeyman options kind of behind him there. So yeah, as many holds as the Angels are going to provide this year, Zephyr-John should be a part of that mix for sure. I do really like what he's done. I know he's one of the guys on here that has been unlucky this year. So someone not to sleep on in holds leagues, Ryan Zephyr-John.
Yeah. All right. All of this is a result of Ben Joyce undergoing season-ending shoulder surgery. Next, we'll discuss Jason Foley, reliever for the Tigers. Didn't pitch for them this year, and he won't for the rest of this year, as he also underwent season-ending shoulder surgery. That's after Jason Foley was the Tigers' basically clear-cut closer all of last season, didn't make the opening day roster, and now it's sort of very apparent why that was the case. He was probably nursing this shoulder injury throughout spring and now has finally decided to go under the knife. So Jason Foley out for the season. I really don't think this changes things for the fantasy outlook of the current Tigers bullpen. And honestly, with the way that Foley was being held in the minors, I didn't really expect him to be in the conversation for that role next year either.
Yeah, I don't. And I mean, there's going to be probably a lot of moving or a lot of different names we see and suggest as potential closers in Detroit over the next 2 years or so. Mm-hmm. Or unless they actually go out and get a guy finally. But yeah, I don't think Foley was really going to have much of a shot to get back into that closer mix. I guess this could, obviously it helps out like Will Vest, who's already there, but maybe this also, Alex Lang could be back sometime in this season. I don't know. I know the last time we heard about him, he suffered a setback, so who knows? But Alex Lang was a guy who had a lot of swing and miss potential at one point, and yeah, he should pitch again this year. I just don't know when or what his role will be.
All right. That's Jason Foley undergoing season-ending shoulder surgery. We had no new significant injuries, so we'll head right into our transactions and discuss Lucas Sims, who was released by the Nationals. Somewhat surprising given his past success and the lack of real big names in the Nationals bullpen. But then you go and you look at Sims' line and you see a 13.86 ERA across 12 and a third innings to go with a 2.27 whip and more walks than strikeouts. His strikeout rate was at 18%. So you can imagine how many guys he was walking. Really terrible year from Lucas Sims. This should open up holds a little bit in Washington. Not that Sims was getting a lot because he was pitching so poorly. But yeah, I don't think this is going to shift things too much in terms of fantasy relevancy of the remainder of those guys in the Nationals bullpen.
Yeah, I doubt it. I do, for as far as Sims goes, like at some point, I still feel like there's one good year, one like really good like half year in him. Yeah. At some point, it's going to happen.
Dodgers.
Yeah, that's good. We'll see. Maybe like who picks him up here. I mean, he'll sign. He'll latch on somewhere. Yeah, we saw like the increased velocity in the spring, got excited, and then now he can't throw strikes. So someone will figure things out and get him going. But yeah, the Nationals, I mean, it's been, I was really excited about Ferrer getting a chance to be their top setup man, and he's struggled for the most part. So hasn't, pretty much everyone in that bullpen outside of maybe like Jackson or Rutledge. So yeah. It does definitely open up the door for like a Rutledge or even a Cole Henry to get more holds, but not guys I'm targeting necessarily in holds leagues right now. Probably just stay away from the situation.
All right, that's Lucas Sims released by the Nationals. Next, we'll discuss Kendall Graveman, who was activated from the 15-day IL by the Diamondbacks. He signed with them over the offseason, but then strained his lumbar spine. So that kept him out of game action for the first month and a half. Now he's returned to the Diamondbacks bullpen. I'm pretty sure he actually hasn't pitched since 2023 because he also missed all of last year with a different injury. But Graveman enters that Diamondbacks bullpen, which I don't really know what's going on there anymore. I mean, we're getting Justin Martinez back at some point. Shelby Miller appears to be the closer, but roster resource suggests Ryan Nelson is in the closer committee despite throwing 56 pitches last time out and getting a save earlier this week.
That's because you got that save on Saturday. Yeah. And yeah, it is. I was, it is interesting. I would be interested in Ryan Nelson as a potential closer if that was a route that they were willing to go.
Yeah.
Keeping him in his shorter stints. But yeah, I think he's going to continue to be stretched out because they're going to need him in the rotation at some point. Probably. Yeah. They have issues there. So yeah, we should probably talk about Arizona because I don't know if there's any other place for us to talk about Arizona. But yeah, Shelby Miller has been filling in as the closer, and they tried Kevin Ginkel, but I think they rushed Ginkel back. He doesn't look right. His velo's down. His command is not close to being where it needs to be. I feel like that was kind of he did kind of return pretty abruptly. I feel like there was like once they lost puck and then Martinez went down, and then all of a sudden Ginkel's like on a rehab assignment, and then he gets back and like he doesn't look right. So hopefully they get Martinez back next week. Shelby Miller's kind of struggling now that he's moved into the closer role. So yeah, hopefully they get Martinez back next week or the week after. I would guess like maybe Ginkel even goes back on the IL to figure out what's going on with him. And there's actually positive news on AJ Puck too. So I know he's on the 60-day, so he's not eligible to return until I think June. But yeah, they might by the trade deadline, at least they might have this bullpen back to where it was at the start of the season, plus hopefully a healthy Kevin Ginkel as well. So I don't know, all that to say that I don't think Ryan Nelson's going to be much as far as a closer, but he's a good long relief option. And for those rostering Shelby Miller, I don't know how long, because Justin Martinez will take that role back once he's there. So I don't know if Miller's got much more than 2 weeks left in this role.
Yeah, Martinez faced live hitters yesterday, so that lends some credence to the idea that he's back within the next 2 weeks. They suggested that he'd be back in the minimum time. That doesn't appear like it's going to be the case, but yeah, I think we could see Martinez in a week or two. To back you up on Ginkel's lack of readiness for the majors, he made just 2 rehab appearances, so 1 1/3 innings as well. So that sort of suggests that he didn't really get enough time to ramp up. So that could explain his struggles. I also agree with you that Nelson's probably not going to be a closer. You would think that the D-backs have a lot of rotation depth when they open the season with like 7 starters, because they had Jordan Montgomery and Ryan Nelson to go with the rest of the guys that are currently in the rotation. But Montgomery's injured, and the rest of their rotational depth in the minor leagues is not super reliable. I would think they would prefer Ryan Nelson starting. So I also don't see him ever factoring into the 9th inning legitimately. So I think everything that you said was very accurate. And it sounds like Kendall Graveman could get some holds at some point.
I feel like at some point, I don't know how much longer they let like Eduardo Rodriguez stick around in the rotation. I feel like Nelson's an upgrade over him at least. So I don't know.
It's like every time he strikes out double-digit batters, he gets like another month in the rotation.
Yeah, I know.
And he did it 3 times in April, man. So he's around for 3 more months.
He has, and he's a guy who's been unlucky. But like, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. They've spent a lot of money on pitching that just has not panned out.
Yeah, let's hope Corbin Burns continues to I don't know, pitch well.
Yeah, at least give them something.
Yeah. Our last transaction involves Michel Otanez, who was activated from the 15-day IL by the A's. He had been out for a few weeks with a shoulder strain, and a corresponding move. Lefty TJ McFarland was placed on the 15-day IL with an adductor strain. He had been the A's go-to left-handed option. I was surprised that the A's didn't sort of try to replace him with another lefty. They optioned Elvis Alvarado, who's a righty, and then brought up Jason Alexander. So they brought up Jason Alexander, not the one from the shows. But and then Otanez, who are both righty. So now they just have one lefty in that bullpen in Hogan Harris, which is not ideal. But hey, I love seeing Otanez back. He throws really hard, but the guys ahead of him, Ferguson, Holman, and Sterner, have really established themselves.
Yeah, I don't really have any lefties available either. So the only thing though, Ferguson just allowed 5 earned runs his last time out. Sterner allowed 5 earned runs his second to last time out. So, now Leclerc's injured, so I feel like Otanez could easily slide into that setup role. I mean, Ferguson's been very lucky. I don't know if he's on these lists. I don't remember, but Ferguson's someone who, probably not, because his ERA is probably now after the 5 run outing, it probably put his ERA back to where it should be. So, Ferguson and Sterner are more, I don't know how reliable they are. I know Grant Holman's kind of mixing in, but he's not missing any bats right now.
Yeah. So
Otanez is obviously someone we've talked about in the past. He intrigues me. He throws hard. Can miss bats at a very high rate. It's just, the command with him. So he had been pitching better, I believe, in AAA before the call-up, because he was originally only supposed to miss like a couple weeks, and it's been, now we're into mid-May, and for him to make his debut finally. But hopefully Otanez is, healthy. The command's there, and he should easily or quickly move up into a high leverage role for the A's.
All right, that's Michel Otanez returning from the IL. Next, we'll head into our 3 up, 3 down section, but first we're going to take a quick break here on In the Pen. And we're back. Jake Crumpler here with Rick Graham on In the Pen discussing relievers. We're heading into our 3 up, 3 down section where we discuss the closers rising and falling on Rick's weekly closer ranks. We'll start it off with our risers as Felix Bautista continues to pitch well for the Orioles. He honestly opened the season not too great, but the usage, very similar to Kenley Jansen, has worked out really well for Bautista. And when I say that, I mean they've only been using Felix Bautista in safe situations and really allowing him to rest when they don't need him. And ultimately, that's resulted in a 2.25 ERA and a 31% strikeout rate from Bautista for the season. Rick, what else do you have on Bautista that has you moving him up?
Well, I mean, the only thing that really stinks here is that the Orioles can't win games. So
they're so bad. It's so surprising.
Yeah, they're one of the worst teams in baseball again. So Bautista's not getting saves. Maybe he's still up to 7. But he's been getting progressively better as the season goes along. And it's kind of and that's what we were talking about in the offseason with them. It's like once May hits, you're going to start seeing, we should hopefully start seeing, prime Felix Bautista. And that's what we're starting to see with the strikeout numbers. The velocity has gone up slowly, not exactly, it's not like a straight line to throwing, 95 again, but he's getting back up to where he used to be. And the splitter has been, just getting straight whiffs at a huge rate recently. So seems like he's back, even if the velo is not exactly where it was in 2022, 23. The strikeouts are getting there. The ratios are there. So, just need to get the Orioles winning some more games so Bautista can, factor into more saves.
All right. That's Felix Bautista rising up the closer ranks. Next, we have Yoan Duran, who has pitched very well this season, but he was sort of in the same boat as Bautista, where he wasn't getting a lot of save opportunities early, and Rocco Baldelli was sort of yanking him around, throwing him in the 6th and the 7th and the 8th inning, avoiding save opportunities. So that was really unfortunate, but Duran has pitched immaculately throughout that, pitching to a 0.89 ERA and a 30% strikeout rate. And now we've started to see those saves tick up and his usage regular normalized. There we go.
Yeah. I mean, for how many? I'm trying to. Since May started, he already has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 saves since May started.
Oh, wow, you have 2 in April.
Yeah, because I mean the Twins were not winning games in April, and now they're on this crazy, and that goes to show. I mean, they were literally. I saw so many comments about Duran and like, is he droppable? I'm like, I don't know. The Twins aren't. What I do know is the Twins aren't this bad that in April. I didn't think they were going to win. What are they on now? Like an 11-game win streak.
Whoa!
I didn't think they were going to be winning that much. But just got a talent like Duran, you don't give up on, even if the team is a little dicey. So, for all those who held on to Duran or were able to buy low in Duran, I was able to pick him. Someone dropped him in points league. I was able to pick him up a couple like last month, and
wow.
It's this guy is a super talented closer, and as long as he gets opportunities to close out games, he's going to be really valuable. And I feel like his stuff this year, it's I don't know if we talked about him in the pitch mix thing, but he's starting to throw a splitter a little bit more. So there's a little bit more swing and miss coming with that. And I love everything Yoan Duran's doing right now.
All right, Yoan Duran rising up the closer ranks, and our last riser is Emanuel Corpas, who, after a somewhat rough patch to start the season, he's really locked in recently. Looks like across his last 8 innings pitched, he's only allowed 1 earned run while striking out 10 batters and walking just 1. So he's definitely locked in after giving us a scare early on. I think we can be confident that nothing's really changed with Corpas. It's just a sample size issue that he's going to sort of iron out throughout the year, and we'll see that ERA come down.
Yeah, that's my take on it. I don't think he's going to be the number 1 guy again. I don't see putting him back at like the top spot.
Yeah, he's already ruined his ERA, and that's like his whole thing.
And even like I just like, as far as like me feeling comfortable as him, as like this is the top closer in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
It's still not like peak Clase. It is weird, the strikeouts though, 10 strikeouts in the past 8 innings. Like those aren't numbers he was getting to last year. So the swing and miss has been there more this year. For all the other complaints we can have about him, at least he's the stuff's still there. He's missing bats at a higher rate, and he's starting to figure things out. And again, he gets the luxury of pitching. I mean, all those closers in that division are kind of like we just talked about. Duran, even like Carlos Estevez is having a pretty smooth year because he's pitching in that division. So that's a luxury for sure with Clase, and something to think about when going through the summer, when we get all those divisional games, all those rivalry games, like rivalry weekend coming up. So, Clase should be fine. I just, is he a top 5 guy? We'll see. He might be more of a, 5 to 10 range closer.
Yeah, that makes sense without the strikeout ceiling, but we'll see if those last 8 innings will stick throughout the year and we see an uptick in strikeouts, because we've always talked about how Clase is somebody who underperforms his swinging strike rate just because he doesn't have that put away rate. He's fine with going out and getting quick outs on ground balls or weak contact, which that's what makes Clase. But yeah, that's sort of what prevents him from being that clear cut number 1 guy every single year, because there's always that question about, well, can he make up for the lack of strikeouts with his ratios and his saves totals? So far, he's been doing that every single year, and I don't think we have any question that he's going to do it this year. But does that make him far and away the number 1 closer in baseball when you got guys like Andres Munoz and Mason Miller who can do everything Clase does, but then also strike out a ton of guys?
Yeah, what Josh Hader's doing this year, Munoz,
exactly.
Like you said.
Exactly.
Yeah, Miller, yeah.
All right, so as those guys rise up the list, others need to fall to accommodate them. We'll start things off with Jose Alvarado, who continues to be used as the number 1 reliever in Philadelphia, but whether or not that means he's closing is the real question here, because over the past week, each of the last 2 save opportunities have gone to Jordan Romano, with Jose Alvarado setting him up. So what's your take here on Jose Alvarado?
Yeah, so this is kind of like a anecdote, or I don't know. It's not. I didn't have him actually down the list this week, but I think we need to bring it up because I saw Romano got the save on was it Sunday, and I was like, all right, interesting. Maybe they're starting to believe in him a little bit more. I get that. That makes sense. He's been pitching better. I didn't think it would, I didn't think Romano would get the next save, which he did on what, yesterday, Tuesday, whatever it was.
Yesterday.
So now it's like, all right, maybe they're showing, maybe they're starting to have more. Obviously, they're having more confidence in Jordan Romano. It's just weird that, like, Alvarado hasn't exactly done anything to lose the job. Maybe they just prefer him, and I'm guessing they prefer him in more of that fireman role. And the other day he did pitch against the top of the order.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
Which featured two lefties. So maybe that's what's going on here. But either way, it's if he is gonna just split saves with Romano, it is gonna have to bring him down a little bit, because I just don't love that. Then we're banking on him, going up against teams that have multiple lefties in the ninth inning. So I think this definitely makes Romano roster worthy in, deeper leagues. And I wouldn't drop Alvarado for Romano, or probably wouldn't drop Alvarado for, a lot of options at this point, but I'm probably going to have to move him down the list to, I don't know, 18-ish to 20, where some of those other split save guys are.
Yeah, it looks like on Sunday, to back up what you said about what Alvarado did on Wednesday, facing the top of the order with a couple lefties due up. On Sunday, he pitched the 8th inning. It was 8-9-1, and it was scheduled to be two lefties. They pinch hit for one of them. So it's a very similar situation there, where they are clearly using Alvarado as the high leverage arm. Whether or not that means he's going to be the closer really just depends on how the lineup works out, like really just how the game plays out. If he gets the top of the order with two lefties in the ninth, then they're going to throw Alvarado in the ninth. But if not, they'll throw him earlier,
Yeah.
All right. That's Jose Alvarado. Next, we'll move to one of our real fallers, as Ryan Walker has really struggled this year for the Giants. And, I called this super early in the season and then walked it back the next week because Dval was just not confidence inducing. But Dval's found success this year without strikeouts, which is really concerning, but Ryan Walker has really been bad. 6 ERA, a 22% strikeout rate. What else has you moving Walker down? Do you have any idea what's plaguing him?
I mean, the slider isn't what it was last year. It's the movement profile is similar. It's just not getting, I don't know if it's a tipping issue or it's partially a command issue for sure. But the slider isn't the same. And that's his sinker. His sinker has been better this year, but it's still not a pitch that he can just go out there and throw 90% of the time. So that slider needs to come back. And we're going to talk about Walker and Camilo Dval when we get into lucky versus unlucky, because there's a very interesting conversation there with those two guys.
Okay.
Because maybe Walker is to me still a buy low if you can get him for relatively cheap, and Dval is a sell high if you can get someone to buy, sell or buy him. Because Camilo Dval isn't. This is not 2022-23 Camilo Dval. I don't know who this is, but it's a very lucky reliever at this point, who's completely lost his ability to induce swings and misses. So Dval has been really weird this year. I know his ERA is good, but be careful there. For Walker, it's just the slider needs to start doing what it did last year and the year before. It's not getting chases. It's not getting swings and misses. Again, don't know if it's tipping or what.
He can't find the zone. I think it's dropped 10% in zone rate because he keeps spiking them.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
I know that obviously allows people to swing at that sinker, which I think allows a huge ICR.
That 41.7%. Yeah. It's not a terrible pitch, but it allows a lot of hard contact. So that's why that slider is so important to Walker. I don't know. It's tough because you don't know, is he gonna fix? It's a thing that is fixable, but we don't know if it's gonna get fixed. that's why you can be a little risky and buy low on Ryan Walker and hope he fixes it, but there's no guarantee.
Totally. All right. Next, we'll move over to former Giant Luke Jackson, who has been the closer for the Rangers all year long. But I don't know. It sort of feels like it's going to come to an end at some point soon. It was really interesting as last time out, he got hit by a pitch or hit by a batted ball, and then he got taken out of the game.
Yeah.
And then the next day, the same thing happened. Chris Martin didn't get hit by a ball, but then he felt forearm tightness or something after the first batter he faced, and then he was taken out of the game. So it looked like Chris Martin was the next guy up with Luke Jackson out, but now he's out. And I think his Chris Martin's MRI results came back positive, which is a good thing. When I read that, the results came back positive. Positive for what? Like, what'd you get?
The results were positive.
Yeah. Oh, it was good news.
Yeah, I know. It is confusing. And then this is interesting because I have this on my third screen over here that the Rangers Astros game right now. Rangers are up 1-0 in the 7th inning. So I don't even know who's available. I think Jackson and Martin are technically available.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, DeGrom's only at 80 pitches, so he might just finish this thing. But if they do go to the bullpen in the 9th, maybe we see Robert Garcia finally. I don't know. This bullpen's been so frustrating. I know Jackson has 8 saves, but it's been weird. Yeah, and we talked about how he was really bad against lefties before the season started, but this year it's been righties that have been getting to him.
It's weird.
So yeah, and it's like not even just like his breaking stuff's been getting hit around a little bit. It's not just his fastball. So yeah, I'm just really. I was hoping Martin would be able to get a save there and get some momentum to take over the role, but here we go. Maybe if Jackson does, get a save tonight or this weekend and sticks. They have not shown that they're willing to go to anyone else so far in the 9th. So Jackson's not out yet, but yeah, like you said, it feels like it's gonna happen soon. It's feels inevitable.
He's got a 5.54 ERA and a 21% strikeout rate. They got to make the move at some point. Let's hope it is soon. Our last faller is Robert Suarez, who after getting off to such a great start had struggled in his past 2 outings, inflating his ERA to 2.84. I'm guessing he's only moving slightly down outside of the top 5 closer in baseball tier and more into the second tier there, where he's going to get a lot of saves. He's going to be pretty awesome, but he's not going to be sub 2 ERA with a 35% strikeout rate type guy.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned. It's really one bad outing, but I don't think he belongs in that top tier, and even that second tier I do have questions about because as he has struck out
30%.
He just struck out 2 guys last. Oh no, he's at 30% still, but still the changeup that we've talked about is. It's better than what it was last year. I think last year he gave up on it because the zone he could not throw strikes with it. His zone rate was 20%. Just had no way to throw strikes with it. This year it's up to 35%. So obviously a big increase, but it's not a pitch that really you would just describe as nasty. It doesn't get a ton of chases. It doesn't give a lot of swings and misses. 16% put away only. So I feel like that strikeout rate, even at 30%, that might be the max for him. I don't know. I don't see it going any higher this year. If anything, it probably comes down. It's like the changeup's nice that it's a wrinkle in there, but I do wonder if teams start to, 35% zone rate, which is the highest it's been for him in his career. Maybe they start laying off that. And start just sitting fastball and hoping that he struggled mostly the other night with his command, with the fastball command, but even still, between that and the changeup, I'm just don't think he's a top 6 or so closer this year.
Yeah, interestingly enough, with Suarez, his swinging strike rate has actually fallen this year,
Yeah.
1% from last year, and he was at 23% strikeout rate this year, but 30% this year. So you could see, or last, they got it. But
His CSW is like in 25%. I mean, that's
yeah,
really low.
exactly. So I don't know. There's something to be said about him being unlucky in the strikeout department last year and lucky in the strikeout department this year. I think
Yeah.
ultimately it evens out and he's somewhere in between 23 and 30. I would guess
Yeah.
like 26% sounds about right for a guy with a 13% swinging strike rate. So yeah, I think he could settle in there. And then that's, it's solid, but it's not, like you mentioned, it's not one of the best closers in baseball.
Yeah, he's like probably belongs to be like a 25% K rate, 10% walk rate, 15% K minus walk guy, which is not the worst, but it's not someone I think I can put in the top 10. Yeah, it's tough to with those guys because there's just too much risk there for me.
All right. That's Robert Suarez. Is there anybody else you'd like to mention in the section?
No, I mean, like, Pete Fairbanks and Emilio Pagan kind of had some rough outings this week.
Yep.
Pagan's an interesting one because I think he does have a little bit of a leash now, but there's no one unless they're really excited about Luis May and which would be cool. I would love to see him get a chance to close, but that's, he's pitched unbelievably well so far, but his minor league numbers don't really back up at least the strikeout walk rates that he had in the minors do not back up what he's doing right now. So maybe something clicked when he got to the majors, but I think Pagan's pretty safe. Fairbanks, I don't know. I think he's probably safe for now, but Mason Montgomery's starting to get going again. Montgomery had a really good week.
First career save.
You got to save. I mean, his the bottom half of his pitcher list page is so funny. It's just like he's first in like everything. It's just a matter of time before Montgomery really takes off here. And then I don't know, Raisel Iglesias. I don't know what to do in Atlanta with him. It's really been dicey. He did pitch today. I don't know if he got a save. I don't know. He might have just pitched today, but he didn't have any strikeouts. I think there was a walk or a hit. Not the most comforting outing you'd like to see from him at this point, but
yeah, he got a save.
Okay, he did get a save.
No strikeouts, one hit.
No strikeouts, one hit. Yeah, okay, sure. Got through it at least.
He's back.
Yeah, I mean, Pierce Johnson's looked really good this year.
Yeah.
He's got some closing experience, so I wonder if there's a switch to be made there. Probably takes another blown save or two for Iglesias. He's definitely earned some leeway there.
Yep. All right. Well, that will wrap up our 3 up, 3 down section. To recap, our risers were Felix Bautista, Yoan Duran, and Emanuel Corpas. And our followers were Ryan Walker, Luke Jackson, and Robert Suarez. Next, we'll head into our main topic and discuss relievers that have been lucky and unlucky this season. But first, we're going to take another break here on In the Pen. And we're back. Jake Crumpler here with Rick Graham on In the Pen discussing relievers. We're heading into our main topic and discussing relievers that have been lucky or unlucky this year based on the difference between their ERA and their ERA estimators. So let's start it off with the guys who have been lucky this year, and that means their ERA is a lot lower than it should be based on their ERA estimators. I think the mention of Raisel Iglesias is a perfect transition into our first one here, as Daz Bell Hernandez has been the luckiest pitcher in baseball with a 1.89 ERA that pales in comparison to the high marks in xFIP and Sierra that are over 5 for Daz Bell Hernandez. It makes sense. He doesn't strike out a lot of guys. He's got good stuff, and I had been hoping that he'd take over the Braves closer role, but with no strikeouts and this clear regression incoming, I am now scared.
Yeah, it is weird to me that where did the strikeouts go? I haven't dug into him too much. But I mean, last year he came in and had a 35% strikeout rate.
Yeah.
In 18 innings, he's at 19 innings now, and the strikeout rate's at 17.6%. It's funny because that's you go from 35.1% strikeout rate to a 17.6% K rate, basically the same amount of innings, and he has the same exact whip as he did last year. But yeah, these are two completely different pitchers, and one that Daz Bell Hernandez has obviously been lucky. But I'm not like, I mean, I think this means he was working the 8th inning earlier on in the season, and now I think Pierce Johnson and Dylan Lee have kind of moved into that setup role more so than Hernandez. So I think it does. Yeah, I think, a 2.7% K minus walk. That's not gonna. The Braves aren't gonna put him into the closer role if they do remove Iglesias, even with the good ERA and WHIP. So I think Hernandez is, behind those two at least. Probably, obviously, still behind Iglesias as well for now. So it's someone. Yeah, I still like the arm. The stuff's intriguing. But it's not the same pitcher we saw last year or even in the minors where he dominated.
Yeah, that's Daz Bell Hernandez. I think it's a control thing, honestly. The zone rate on his slider and fastball have flip-flopped. So before he was throwing his fastball in the zone and making batters chase his slider. Now it's the opposite. He's trying to get them to chase his fastball. It's not working. So yeah, I think we're going to have to see some better control from Daz Bell Hernandez if we're going to buy in. Next, we'll discuss Taylor Rogers of the Reds, a southpaw former Giant. He's pitched to a 1.23 ERA this year, but he's got a 4.27 xFIP and a 4.12 SIERA. Rogers used to be a guy that was a big, or CSW was a huge fan of his because he was super reliant on called strikes. Yeah, but we are not seeing that this year.
Yeah, but he's got a 1.23 ERA, and I think I wanted to mention him because, like we talked about Pagan a little bit. The Reds, who do the Reds turn to if Pagan loses the closer role? Maybe people think Rogers is an option because of his ERA, but yeah, this isn't the Taylor Rogers that was closing out games for like the Twins a few years ago or the Padres. It's the strike. Not that he was a big strikeout guy to begin with, but it's still, like you said, it's the called strikes mostly. Those are not there, and that's what he relied upon. So he's getting very lucky early on here. I don't see him being a factor in as far as saves go. It's always weird when you have the same ERA as WHIP, like a 1.23 WHIP but a 1.23 ERA. It's nothing. The rest of this doesn't really give me much hope.
I expected to see much more aggressive hitters against him to explain the lack of called strikes, because you would think that, if players are not allowing him to land called strikes, then they're probably just swinging more and attacking his stuff so that he can't get ahead in counts like that. But that doesn't seem to be the case. There's a slight increase in swing rate, but it's probably just like, I don't know. He probably just not hitting the edges like he used to with the sweeper and the sinker.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah. It also sucks that he pitches in Cincinnati, which is not great for pitchers. So it's hard to support Rogers with the underlying metrics that
he's still getting a pretty good amount of called strikes. It's just not what he used to be. I mean, he's 21st. He's 21st amongst relievers and called strikes. Okay. Very interesting group, when you look at the called strikes leaderboards, like Jake Bird's first, Hobie Milner, Anthony Bender, Brian King. It's guys who are pitching well this year, but like, are they really, Yeah. So,
All right. Next, we've got Liam Hendriks, who's somehow gotten off to a really good start this year, 1.80 ERA, but that comes with a 5.17 xFIP and a 4.64 SIERA. Big differences there from his ERA. The walks are way up for Liam Hendriks this year, and this is a guy who sort of made his career based on his ability to land pitches in the zone to avoid walks, but we're seeing a double-digit walk rate from Hendriks this year for the first time in his career.
Yeah, and I think there was like one or two outings. But even with that walk rate, it's the strikeouts aren't there, the stuff's not there. It's a different guy. And I love that he's like, he's grinding. I mean, they haven't really, it's telling the Red Sox have not used him in any sort of leverage role yet.
Yeah.
Because it's not like they've been perfect with Greg Weiser, Justin Slayton, Garrett Whitlock. Those guys have all struggled lately, and still Hendriks is pitching lower leverage situations, and I don't know how long are they gonna I don't know, experiment here, or how long are they gonna hold on to the Hendriks if they're not confident with using him in big spots. So I don't see I mean, maybe the velocity gets back. I don't know. I don't see how that would happen, like just overnight, or it's not like it's even really. There's no like line showing that it's going up. It's just like flatlined at like 94.5, 95. So I don't see much hope for Liam Hendriks. I really wish it was. I really wish I could find something in there that like made me excited. But yeah, between the ERA estimators, the lack of swing and miss, the velo, it's not looking too promising right now.
All right, that's Liam Hendriks. Our next lucky pitcher is Tony Santillan, who's produced a 1.29 ERA, but that comes with a 4.10 xFIP and a 3.82 SIERA. The biggest thing for Santillan is I was pumped about him last year when he broke out as a reliever because of the increased velocity he displayed moving from the rotation to the bullpen, but that fastball velocity has reverted back to the 96 miles per hour with poor shape that he displayed prior to moving to the bullpen last year. And so despite his continued success this year, I'm out. He's also got a 20% strikeout rate after flaunting a 39% mark in that department last year.
Yeah, I will say on Santillan, the fastball, the last 4 outings, has the velo is starting to trickle back up. I don't know.
Okay.
And then we're at 4 outings. Maybe it's gonna stick. Maybe it's real. Maybe it just needed the warm weather. I don't know. But yeah, the last 4 outings, it looks better. So I'm kind of more. I'm more optimistic here. I want to see more of this. Maybe like in another week we'll talk about him again. But yeah, the velocity last year was obviously the big factor in his breakout. So it being down for most of the year this year is definitely. He hasn't struggled, but he has been very lucky. And not someone I would trust in the second half. But if the velocity is back, and now we have a different pitcher almost. So, something to keep an eye on with Santillan. Maybe I did drop him significantly 2 weeks ago in Holds rankings, but yeah, if that velocity is still there next week, I'll probably bump him back up a pretty good amount.
All right. Well, next we got Luke Weaver, and this is a very similar situation. 0.45 ERA for Weaver on the season to go with a respectable 3.46 xFIP and 2.93 SIERA. So it's not like when Weaver regresses, it's going to be like he needs to go to the minor leagues or something. Like he'll still be really good, but it's the same situation here with Santillan, where Weaver moved to the bullpen full-time last year, displayed 95.7 mile per hour fastball velocity, but then this year it's fallen down to 94.2. I think that's a big reason why why the ERA estimators are suggesting that he's not pitching as well, because the quality of contact has been a little bit worse. But we're still seeing a lot of strikeouts from Weaver, not too many walks. I mean, I really think like he hasn't been super lucky, but it's not, he's obviously not a sub 1 ERA guy.
Yeah, I think he's been good. He's been lucky. I do think that there's still some fatigue factor where the usage from last year is going to catch up to him, if not now, at some point, because it was an insane amount of innings and games pitched last year for a guy who had not pitched much in the last few seasons. So, but as far as the ERA estimators go, I mean, 3.46 xFIP still pretty good. So, it's just he's going to allow more runs. That ERA is obviously going to go up at some point. But I'm not overly concerned about Weaver outside of just like the fatigue settling, factoring in at some point.
Yeah. All right. Next, we've got Camilo Dval, who's got a 1.37 ERA to go with a 3.85 xFIP and a 3.83 SIERA. The thing with Dval is that despite pitching well, the strikeouts are way down to 19% after being at 29% and above 30 in his career prior to that. But I think the biggest thing is obviously, the reason we're concerned about guys who are striking out fewer batters is that they are more reliant on balls in play, which most of the time regresses to a mean and has pretty predictable results. The thing with Dval, he's really good at inducing weak contact, so you can start to believe into his ability to limit damage. However, not to this extent. He's got a 157 BABIP and a 0% home run to fly ball rate. He's allowed no home runs on all of his fly balls this year. That is not going to hold up the whole year. I still think Dval's going to be solid, but without the strikeouts returning, he's going to be, not as dominant, not even close to as dominant as he was 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I don't know who this guy is. It's like such a weird, because I obviously the walk rate is better than it. I guess it's the same as what it usually is. It's not even better, but that BABIP. He had a 338 BABIP last year, a 308 BABIP in 2023, and now it's at 157. Like, that's not real. That's not going to happen. So. Especially when the swing and miss is down, like it's like he's missing less bats and getting more like luck. Like, it's just been super lucky for him, and I don't know. I'm not ready to buy in here yet. It's like something. I wonder if just because this trade would never happen, but if you were in a league and you picked up Dval, would if you offered him to the guy who rostered Ryan Walker, is that who says no to a Ryan Walker, Camilo Dval trade right now in a standard league? I feel like because I've been seeing a lot of people asking do I drop Walker for Dval? I'm like I don't know. I don't think so. It's such a because Dval might take over that role this weekend. If Walker has another bad outing. But I really don't believe in either of them long term. Maybe Randy Rodriguez is the answer here, and then we can just stop talking about these two. Because Randy Rodriguez has been awesome. But yeah, for now it's I don't love what Walker's doing, but I just don't trust Dval either. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a situation to stay away from.
Yeah, or just stand pat with the guys that you got and just say, hey, we'll ride it out and see what happens. But yeah, hey, I'd love to see Randy Rodriguez in the closer role. He's been incredible. All right, let's move on to Anthony Bender, who's got a 2 ERA on the season, but that comes with a 4.66 xFIP and a 4.28 SIERA. The thing with Anthony Bender is that we haven't really seen him be good in a long time. I mean, last year he was fine. But it's been since 2021 since he actually showed some legitimate potential because he was striking guys out. This year, strikeout rate under 20%, walk rate career high 11%. That's an 8% strikeout minus walk rate. That is not ideal for someone like Anthony Bender, who wants to be the closer there. And then even outside of that, he had all the opportunities in the world to take over that closer role in Miami and just did nothing with it. And now Tinoco's back in there.
Yeah, that's kind of that's why I added him. It's Miami's still kind of an open situation with the closer role. Sunoco has been getting the last 2 saves or whatever, but I don't believe in him. I don't believe in Calvin Fauché. I don't believe in Anthony Bender either, who has a 6.9% swinging strike rate, which I don't even know how that's lower than anything Tyler Rogers has even come close. Tyler Rogers blows that out of the water.
Yeah.
That's 6.9% swing strike rate, and I don't. It's because his stuff's not even coming off the surgery 2 years ago. His stuff's not that bad. The slider's still pretty solid. So I just 6.9%. That's crazy. But yeah, he's been getting talk about called strikes. He's been getting a lot of called strikes. So maybe that's that kind of balances out that swing strike rate being low. But yeah, I mean, I guess, we haven't talked about Miami in a while. I don't know. Tinoco is the guy for now. I wouldn't roster him unless you're desperate, though.
Yeah. All right. That's Anthony Bender. Next, we'll discuss Lucas Ersk, who's got a 0.47 ERA, but that comes with a 3.16 xFIP and a 2.69 SIERA, suggesting that Lucas Ersk, even once he regresses, will still be rosterable. It's pretty noticeable, though, that the fastball velocity is down this year after being at 98.6 last year. He's sub 98 this year, and that has come with worse control on the pitch, or command, I would say in this case, which is not something you'd expect for somebody pulling back on the velocity. But a lot of Lucas Ersk's 4-seamers have leaked down into the middle of the plate, which has led to a 41.7% ICR. And yet he's still got a 0.47 ERA matched by a 0.47 whip.
the ratios are awesome. Everything else is like very questionable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the stuff has gotten worse, and it's again we talk about just the benefits of pitching in the AL Central. I think more so the benefits of pitching for the Royals in that ballpark, and pretty good defense behind you. So I feel like Ersk and Estevez and all the other relievers here have definitely benefited from the situation pitching in Kansas City. But yeah, I'm not concerned too much about Ersk. I think if you roster him, you'll be fine. Obviously, the ERA and WHIP are going to go up, but for the most part, you should be fine.
All right, next we've got Tommy Keanley, who's got a 1.08 ERA, but that comes with a 3.48 xFIP and a 3.24 Sierra. Keanley has somehow gotten by this year by throwing 84% changeups, and that ERA is still almost under 1, which is crazy. He's also lowered his walk rate a little bit, which is cool, but it's very clear that he's been really lucky. 175 BABIP and an 88% left on base rate suggests that moving forward, as luck goes the other way for Tommy Keanley, those ratios will rise, though the xFIP at 3.48 and the Sierra at 3.24 suggests that when Keanley does regress, it's not going to be awful. But I do think that probably should, if you're trying to decide Vest or Keanley, it's very clear.
Yeah. Give me all. Yeah. I mean, I really want to buy in on Will Vest like everywhere, but it's just I don't know what AJ Hinch is going to do. But if you can afford Vest as like a third or like a fourth reliever, it's definitely worth it for now. Because Keanley is not the answer here, and I don't know. Bo Brisky has looked better. I'll say Brisky's looked pretty solid, I think, since he returned. But Vest has pitched well enough where he should be considered the closer there. We'll see how things shape up.
All right, next we've got Carlos Estevez, who's got a 2.29 ERA on the season, but that comes with a 4.86 xFIP and a 4.37 Sierra. Estevez has a lot of saves this year as well. It's been a very successful year, especially from a fantasy standpoint. However, it's not going to keep up. Not only are we seeing Estevez return to being the guy who cannot control the zone, he's got a nearly 12% walk rate this year after out of nowhere producing a sub 6% walk rate last year. So to see him now flipping back and forth between what version of himself he is concerning. And then on top of that, he's just like Camilo Dval. He's allowed 0 home runs on the season. Pretty incredible from Estevez. It's not going to hold up, especially because with the increased walks, we're also seeing reduced punch out. So it's honestly like the worst version of Estevez I've ever seen.
It's like the Colorado Rocky version of Estevez, but worse. But
yeah,
he just gets
but not in Coors, so it's okay.
He's pitching in Kansas City, so yeah, the ERA and WHIP are fine, and that that's not something I guess I factor in enough maybe in like closer rankings because I don't like I'm not high on the pitcher, but the factor the team factor, the stadium factor, the division factor, the scheduling factor, I guess, all are in his favor, or all in Estevez's favor. So maybe he should be bumped up because he just, he does have good luck, but it's luck that's probably going to be with him because, he's in Kansas City. So, I still, it'll be risky. I wouldn't want to roster him because just a lot of risk there and there's not a ton of upside, but you'll probably still get, he's already at 12 saves. He's going to probably crack 30 saves again. So that makes him a worthwhile draft pick, I guess, in my mind.
All right. That's Carlos Estevez. Next, we've got Dennis Santana, who's got a 1.96 ERA, not supported by his 4.13 xFIP and 4 Sierra. And honestly, looking at Dennis Santana's page is one of the most confusing things I've ever seen. Like 15% swinging strike rate and a 16% strikeout rate. I have never seen those two numbers that close before. That's like I don't know. It's like is it just the order in which he throws his pitches? Yeah, it's so weird.
And even like the calls, CSW is still really high too. Yeah, I mean, the swing and miss stuff's still there. He just isn't getting strikeouts with it. But he is allowing some hard contact. I know. I mean, yesterday I like 3 balls to the wall. He was able to escape, but there is some concerns as far as the quality of contact he's allowing. But if he starts turning the swing and strike stuff into actual strikeouts, then that should ease things up a little bit. I'm not too worried about Santana as far as the pitcher goes. In save plus holds leagues, he's pretty solid. I do, it is interesting that they fired their manager, and now Santana has gotten the ninth inning work pretty consistently. They're not even
The Pirates fired the manager.
Yeah,
last year.
That was this weekend.
I'm just so like Rockies focused. The only manager I'm thinking of is Bud Black.
No, they fired Shelton.
Wow,
2 days
I don't know how
Bud
I missed
Black.
that. I do daily podcasts.
I know. I was going to say you do the first pitch podcast. Come on, man. But they fired Shelton, and then since then it's been Santana in the 9th, Bednar in the 8th, pretty consistently.
Ooh,
so
gross.
I don't know. I don't know if I believe it because Bednar's been pitching so much better than Santana lately.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's how. Who's the new manager? I can't think of his name. It's a former MLB player. But
Don Kelly.
Don Kelly. He's been going with Santana, and they're not even. Bednar's been strictly getting the 8th. So, interesting to keep an eye on that. I still like Bednar better though. So I don't know.
All right, I agree. Our last lucky pitcher, and to be honest, the state of the time of the podcast that we're at, we're not going to have time to get to the unlucky ones, but you listeners are lucky because you'll get to hear that next week. But let's wrap up our lucky section with Steven Wilson, who's got a 2.19 ERA to go with a 4.72 xFIP and a 4.16 Sierra. I have to assume you're putting him on here to keep fantasy managers away from trying to target saves in the White Sox bullpen through Wilson.
Yeah, I think he was kind of leaning towards being the favorite there. For saves, I don't know if there even is one. They're really it's between him, Leisure, and Cam Boozer.
Whoa, Mike Vassell got one yesterday.
Just got a save. You're right. I'm sorry, I forgot Mike Vassell, who had 47 pitches on Sunday and then got a save. Is the save nice. On Wednesday.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I feel like I thought Wilson was kind of having momentum go his way towards being the closer there, but who knows? Vassell just got the last save. Boozer got one on Sunday. I just probably stay away from this White Sox. I mean, I do like Boozer. I like him more of as like a left-handed setup option than a closer, but and Leisure has pitched better this year. I don't know if he's the guy that we were all hyped about last year in spring, but he's definitely looked better this year. So maybe he can be a factor over the second half or so.
All right. Well, that's Steven Wilson, and that will wrap up this podcast and this section as we discussed the luckiest or the most notable lucky relievers in baseball. To recap, we discussed Daz Bell Hernandez, Taylor Rogers, Liam Hendriks, Tony Santillan, Luke Weaver, Camilo Dval, Anthony Bender, Lucas Ersk, Tommy Keanley, Carlos Estevez, Dennis Santana, and Steven Wilson. So if you can sell high on those guys, maybe do so while you can. Definitely listen to our whole analysis on all of those guys, but that'll do it for this episode of In the Pen. Rick, why don't you go ahead and plug anything you're working on as well as your social media?
Yeah. First of all, the Rangers game did end, and Sean Armstrong got the save. So
he got the save.
I know.
A couple days
ago. He came in
too.
for Martin. No, did he come in? He came in for one of the injured guys. I don't know if it was Martin or Jackson.
It was the day that Jackson got
took
removed.
the ball off the arm. Yeah.
No, it was Martin. It was Martin.
It was 2 days ago. Webb came in for Jackson.
That's right.
So yeah, maybe Sean Armstrong. I don't think Sean Armstrong's an actionable ad right now, but he did get another save tonight. So
pretty weird.
Anyway, yeah, you can find me on Twitter or Blue Sky or any social media. I am Rick Graham. And yeah, just like every week, it's putting out 3 lists. We got closing time on Tuesdays, hold up on Thursdays, and save plus holds on Friday.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler. You can follow the pod at In the Pen Pod. You can find all of my work at crumplerbaseball.com. Still needs to be updated. Nonetheless, all the links are there. You can catch me live on the First Pitch podcast, recording nightly on Sunday through Wednesday, and recorded Monday through Thursday. And then always tune in to the In the Pen podcast Thursday nights and recorded on Fridays. So that'll do it for this episode 120 of In the Pen. We'll talk to you all next week.